We'll have a lot of thoughts on that. Joel Klatt will be joining me next hour. Can't wait for that one tonight. Ohio State and Alabama, as far as eye test goes, should be competitive. Very rarely in sports do I make a prediction months in advance, and do you make a prediction, and it's almost right all the way down. It checks all the boxes. And I was watching Brady win this weekend. I thought, this is one of the rare times. I mean, let's be honest. We all kind of admitted New England's offense probably wouldn't be very good. And we predicted Brady's going to have, just based on weapons and Bruce Arians, more toys to play with. We all thought they would have a winning record, but probably wouldn't win the division. The Saints would. But we felt they were going to be a wild card team. We also felt they would probably be good enough to win a playoff game, but most of us didn't think they were in the Super Bowl. We all thought, okay, there's no preseason. Tampa's defense is going to kind of have to carry the day until Thanksgiving. And after that, they'll probably be pretty scary. Check, 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 check. You were right on all of them. We were all right on all of them. This is what we thought they would look like. A team good enough to beat rebuilding Washington, a sketchy playoff team, but probably not good enough to go to New Orleans and beat the Saints and their underdogs. You know, there was always this, why is Brady leaving? One of the things that surprised me about Tom Brady leaving, because I thought he would stay, he's such a creature of habit. He loves habit. I mean, we saw the Tom Brady documentary, sitting there, a protein blueberry smoothie. I could just watch film all day. That doesn't seem like a guy that's going to uproot his family and leave a dynasty. But he never left this dynasty because he didn't like Belichick. They were never tight. He just didn't want to be the only man. He loved being the man. We know that because his wife, Giselle, said, Tom just wants to be respected. He wanted to be the man, just didn't want to be the only guy. And if you go and look at what happened this weekend for Brady, it was the one game that had a shootout feel to it. Mike Evans had 6 catches, Cameron Brate had 4, Chris Godwin 5, Antonio Brown 2 key catches, Leonard Fournette 4, Scotty Miller 1. Gronk was great in red zone blocking. Brady only had to throw 40 times. He wasn't sacked much, 104 passer rating. Some of this is Brady has aged well because he's got great aging traits. But this is kind of what we all thought it would look like. This is one of the ones we got right. I whiffed on the Minnesota Vikings. I figured out the Steelers really were not as good by last night as even I predicted. I said they were an 8-8 team. They weren't even an 8-8 team last night. But in the end, this is the one prediction I think almost everybody was realistic about. Our expectations weren't Super Bowl. Our expectations weren't them trampling Seattle or Green Bay on the road in the playoffs or New Orleans. They're exactly where we thought they would be. And I think their season will come to an end next weekend against the Saints. The Rams situation is interesting because the Rams, obviously, it's hard to figure out how they scored 30 points. But the NFL is interesting. The Rams have done almost everything right since they moved to Los Angeles. The league's turning into an offensive league. They found this super smart, young, progressive offensive coach. Home run, A+ hire. They've done an amazing job to draft running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, in an increasingly weapons-driven league. They went and made a big, splashy trade, Jalen Ramsey. Oh, yeah, it's been great. And they kept Aaron Donald, extended his deal. They've done almost everything right. They've drafted well. They've traded well. They went headfirst into offense and weapons very well. The new stadium's amazing. And then there's the Goff contract, which is now a bigger cap hit, I kid you not, than all of the remaining AFC quarterbacks combined. But I defended Philadelphia with Carson Wentz's deal, and I defended the Rams with Goff's deal. But it just goes to show you, you can do everything right in this league. if you're staring at a big cap hit and your quarterback has lost confidence, you look like what the Rams will going to Green Bay this weekend. A really tough game to win. And by the way, this is why Dallas keeps telling us they're going to sign Dak. Oh, we'll take care. And they can't quite pull the trigger on the Dak deal. Because you can do everything right. But if you get a quarterback and he's real costly and he gets hurt or he loses confidence, it is a roadblock to everything else. Rams have done almost everything right. Everything. Drafting, trading, coaching. Colin right, Colin wrong next. Not 14, what you grew up. Now it's 17. And you throw a preseason game in, that's 18. Postseason, that's 19. And I watched Ben, and I thought, he looks old. He doesn't look like a 19-game quarterback to me, Howie. Does he to you?
I thought, interestingly enough, I thought Ben looked more fresh from an arm perspective towards the end of the year. The question with Ben has always been, it's not talent. You know, when I look at Josh Allen, you can't help but think Ben, a young Ben, you know, and think back to what Ben was when he first got in the league. Ben, you know, if you believe what you read and what you hear, is not someone who necessarily is at some state-of-the-art facility training in the offseason.
Right.
You know, if Ben is willing to rededicate himself to the point where he could come back and, you know, he's under contract and it's guaranteed money to the best of my knowledge, and they have to work something out because the cap number is significant. I would like to see Ben come back. I mean, I love watching Ben play. I have over the years. He's been one of my favorite players to watch. Could I do without all the, you know, the drama on the periphery? Yeah, sure. But I love the way Ben plays. And it seemed like they struggled to find an identity during the course of the year. Were they a run team? They were 11-0, but, you know, and I said it on our show, and people were looking at me like the RCA dog. You know, I just wasn't that impressed. And I felt like the good teams that they had beaten all had the ball at the end of the game with an opportunity to win the football game. And
yep.
I think they're just, you know, it's a well-run organization. Mike Tomlin is a great coach. I think their general manager is great. They do a great job drafting wide receivers. The offensive line needs to be refreshed a bit. They need a true 1A running back who can give them that kind of a capability. I think the injuries in the front seven on defense, I think it hurt them both versus run on defense, and I think it hurt them in coverage because I'm a big proponent of pressure equals coverage, and they got so much pressure in the past with, you know, those bookend outside linebackers, and the loss at inside linebackers big.
You know, Buffalo's an interesting team because I thought the Colts had the better running game, the better offensive line, the better overall defense, and then there was Josh Allen. Josh just sort of is the difference. I was talking to Chris Ballard, the GM, last night. He's so proud of his team, but you just can't duplicate what Josh Allen does. And I wonder, watching Buffalo, and I sat there and I thought, I think the better team is Indy, but Josh is Mahomes. He's just taking them to places nobody else on the planet can. Can a team carried by a star young quarterback, can they overcome some of their limitations in Buffalo?
I think you can if it's a well-run organization and you have, you know, I think pieces around him, and certainly the Diggs acquisition was huge for Buffalo and